Crossing the finish line first takes a lot more than a fast car and a good driver. It takes a crew that can analyze an ever-changing track, knowing where the bumps and dips are, the condition and makeup of the surface, and how the sunlight and air temperature change the performance of the car. Then come the precise adjustments and setup that can make the difference between coming in first or last. Golf course maintenance in many ways is like high-stakes racing. First, our playing surface is constantly changing. Grass grows, it lives and breathes and changes by season, by time of day. We also deal in precision. On fairways, for example, we're trying to cut an 8-foot swath of grass at less than half an inch over undulating terrain. Indeed, our setups and adjustments too need to be precise. This can be the difference between winning turf and complaints from the membership. Pursuit of the best aftercut appearance is really nothing new. From the first pull gangs to modern lightweight fairway mowers, superintendents, mechanics, and manufacturers alike have developed setups and best practices aimed at achieving optimal performance in a variety of conditions. The good news is, despite legends of tribal knowledge or magical setups, the basics of achieving great aftercut appearance can be broken down into 3 very real parts, most of which are within your control. First, agronomic practices, anything related to the maintenance of healthy turf. Second, maintenance practices, all things related to the service and upkeep of mowing equipment. And finally, machine adjustments and accessories. Modern traction and cutting units have the capability to be fine-tuned to almost any condition. Remember that achieving and sustaining optimal aftercut appearance requires equal focus and diligence on all 3. Compromise in any one area can result in unsatisfactory results. As an example, if you have thatch all over your course, the fact that you have the best grinding schedule in the world won't make up for it. As you can imagine, there are hundreds of hours of learning on this topic, given its scope and complexity. So here's your reading material, and there will be a quiz on this at the end of this program, so make sure to study up. Well, maybe not. We're really here to make your life a little easier, so we're going to simplify the 3 areas by condensing them into our top 10 list of ways you can achieve superior aftercut appearance. And feel good about members comparing your fairways to the tourney he saw over the weekend on HDTV, rather than dodging flying golf clubs from unhappy customers. Oh! So, let's get started. Consistency, consistency, consistency. It may seem obvious, but if you want all 5 cutting units within a traction unit to cut as one, they all need to be set up the same. Likewise, if you want all traction units within your fleet to cut the same, they also need to be set up the same. Remember that we're dealing in precision. Modern mowers perform optimally when they are set up, maintained, and used in the manner in which they were designed. Some common pitfalls of machine setup include trying an adjustment on one cutting unit or traction unit and not changing it back, or at least changing the others to match. Mixing hardware. For example, using different bed knife profiles or roller packages within a traction unit will create a variation in cut. Ignoring routine maintenance. How do you suppose your car would perform if one tire had 20 less pounds of pressure than the others? Or if the engine idle was 1,000 RPM higher than it was supposed to be? You could drive it, but it wasn't designed to perform its best in that fashion. Modern fairway mowers are the same. If things have gotten a little out of control, or you can't remember what settings were changed to what, setting the cutting units and traction units back to the original factory settings is a great place to start. Check your manual or the setup section of this presentation for details on how to do this. Meanwhile, here are a few simple setup items you can quickly and easily check. On the traction units, ensure correct and consistent tire pressure. Ensure the correct engine RPM. Verify ground speed and reel speed. And check the counterbalance spring. On the cutting units, make sure they have the same rollers, bed knives, and rear roller spacers. Ensure correct and consistent height of cut. Make sure the turf comp springs are set the same. Let's move on to number 9. Make sure the reels and bed knives are sharp. This too may seem like an obvious statement. Blades cut better when they're sharp, whether it's your circular saw, your kitchen knives, or your razor. They work better and give a better looking result when they're sharp. Your reels and bed knives are no different. Don't wait for them to get dull. It will not only look bad, it will likely hurt your turf. Over time, as your cutting edges become dull, you need to maintain an optimum level of sharpness to ensure the best cut. The best and easiest way to avoid the problem is to stick to a regular sharpening schedule. Not only does this provide the best results, it eliminates most of the guesswork and reduces work and downtime. And now, number 8. Ensure light bed knife to reel contact. There are varying schools of thought on contact versus no contact. Truth be told, you can achieve acceptable short-term aftercut appearance with either method. However, over the long haul, light bed knife contact is favored for 2 reasons. First, light bed knife to reel contact creates a self-sharpening edge that removes surface material as the leading edge wears, similar to sharpening a knife. No contact, on the other hand, continues to round and dull the cutting edges, increasing the need to grind reels to keep them sharp. As we just learned, maintaining sharp edges is one of the keys to optimal aftercut appearance. Second, light contact promotes healthier turf. Light contact clips the grass blade between the reel blade and the bed knife, similar to a scissors. No contact tears the grass blade, which can actually yellow the turf due to damage, and in turn can promote disease.
Grass plants don't like to be cut. Mowing is a significant stress because it wounds the tissue. Iowa State did a great study a few years back that confirmed, first of all, that mowing is a significant stress and there is a plant response to the wounding. They looked at 4 different mower setups, reel mower setups, sharp reels with light contact, sharp reels without contact, dull reels with light contact, dull reels with no contact, and found that of all the combinations, maintaining light contact is most important for minimizing wounding. Even sharp reels without contact produce more wounding than dull reels with light contact.
To ensure light contact, use the DPA clickable bed knife to reel adjusters. The reels should cut a piece of paper like a sharp scissors. If the reel bends the paper over without cutting it, you will not get a good long-term aftercut appearance and will likely be damaging your turf. We're only 3 deep into our list, but the 3 items we've covered may help you immediately. Remember, make sure your traction units and cutting units are set up the same, and keep your reels and bed knives sharp with light contact. In case those first 3 don't solve your issues, let's move on to number 7. Verticut and vary the mowing pattern. Many grasses like Bermuda grass and creeping bent grass grow both vertically as leaf growth and horizontally from rhizomes and stolons.
Bermuda grass is a stoloniferous species, kind of sends runners out across the top of the surface. That contributes to the thatch layer. As you get more and more thatch, the surface becomes less forgiving for a cutting unit. Becomes a little spongier, becomes the term puffy is used to describe the surface.
Too much thatch buildup can negatively impact both the health of your turf and its aftercut appearance. From a health standpoint, a high level of thatch forms an incubation site for disease, produces localized dry spots, immobilizes nutrients and fungicides, and encourages shallow rooting. From an appearance standpoint, a thick layer of thatch causes puffy turf that becomes uneven and spongy underfoot. This puffiness or sponginess can significantly impact the way cutting units interact with the turf. As thatch accumulates, the cutting units ride on this puffy or spongy surface, which can cause an uneven or wavy aftercut appearance between passes or even between cutting units.
And you control thatch by mechanically removing it through practices like verticutting. Core aerification is another one. Using attachments like groomers and setting groomers to be a little bit aggressive down into the canopy tends to stand up the leaves.
Another turf issue that affects the visual quality of turf as well as playability and ball roll is grain. Grain is the turf condition where leaves and shoots on the surface are all growing in a prostrate manner, oriented in the same direction. The primary cause of grain is mowing pattern, although other factors such as surface water flow can also influence grain. While some clubs prefer to burn in a certain striping pattern, consistently mowing in the same direction or pattern causes the turf canopy to grow prostrate in the direction of mowing. The best practices to avoid grain is to vary mowing patterns and to use groomers on cutting units. On the other hand, the turf surface can be intentionally conditioned to lay one way or the other to create striping on fairways or sports fields. Mowing patterns or simply the fact that cutting units have rollers changes the orientation of turf leaves, causing light to reflect off the surface in different ways. The human eye perceives this as patterns. Changing mowing patterns frequently, verticutting, and using groomers will control grain, giving the surface a more uniform appearance. That was a lot of information, but hopefully you have a better understanding of these common challenges. Now, let's move on to number 6. Know your effective height of cut. In recent years, it seems fairway heights of cut have been lowered significantly below half an inch. Some will say the broadcasting of elite PGA events in high definition has driven players' expectations to tournament-level conditions. Others say they mow at a quarter inch simply because they can. Whatever the reason, it's important to remember the difference between bench set height of cut and effective height of cut. The bench height of cut is set with a steel bar in the shop, which assumes a solid surface for the roller. But guess what? Turf gives, especially southern turf. That means your actual or effective height of cut can be 0.05 to 0.075 inches lower than the bench set. So if your bench set is 0.375 inches, you could effectively be mowing at 0.275 inches. Now also consider the weight of the cutting units. Let's assume we have a riding greens mower and a fairway mower, both bench set at a half an inch. We then take them out on the same fairway and mow side by side. Do you think they have the same effective height of cut? Perhaps surprisingly, the answer is no. Cutting units are independent or free-floating from the traction unit. A riding greens mower cutting unit is, on average, 80 pounds lighter than a fairway cutting unit. So, with less downforce applied on the greens mower cutting unit compared to a fairway cutting unit, the effective height of cut of the greens mower is actually higher. It's critical to understand the interaction of cutting units to the turf and what it means to the effective height of cut. Like returning your fairway units to their standard factory setting. It's never a bad idea to raise your height of cut when things appear to go awry. Remember, as a golfer, it's also hard to play off concrete. Hey, that guy's good. The best way to determine your effective height of cut is with a turf evaluator. In addition to accurately determining your effective height, the turf evaluator is also an invaluable diagnostic tool to help you troubleshoot cutting performance issues. It's a great, easy-to-use tool to have in your turf toolbox. We're halfway there. Now, on to number 5. Get an attitude adjustment. Abraham Lincoln once said,
"People are just about as happy as they make up their minds to be."
what he subtly meant was, attitude makes all the difference. The same can be said for reel mowing, but in this instance, we're referring to the attitude of the bed knife in relation to the reel center line. In most reel mowing applications, it's desirable to have some degree of attitude between the shear point and the reel center line. It keeps the bed knife from dragging on the turf and allows the reel to engage the turf slightly below the maintained height of cut to help the reel blades gather grass for clipping at the shear point. However, too much bed knife attitude will result in the reel contacting the leaf blade well below the maintained height of cut, causing tearing or bruising of the grass. Additionally, in grasses with horizontal growth, larger tufts of grass can be lifted and pulled toward the reel, which will cause severe aftercut issues. The dilemma for cutting southern grasses is getting attitude, so as not to drag the bed knife, but not be too aggressive to the point of starting to lift and pull the turf with the reel blades. This is the genesis of the extended low-cut bed knife. An extended low-cut bed knife allows for bed knife attitude, but pushes the shear point closer to the center line to reduce the aggressiveness of the reel in the turf without sacrificing bed knife lift, the heel of the bed knife being higher than the toe, and reducing bed knife scrubbing on the turf. For northern grasses, we recommend a bed knife attitude between 0 and 8 degrees. For southern turfs, we recommend between 0 and 4 degrees.
As is the case in life, attitude may prove the ultimate determinant of success. And now on to number 4. I like that number.
Match your mowing frequency to your height of cut. One of the first principles a turf student learns is the 1/3 rule of cutting grass. Never cut off more than 1/3 of the height of cut in one mow. It can significantly damage the leaf tissue, which can cause severe aftercut appearance. Have you ever stopped to think about how much 1/3 height of cut actually is? At a 3/8 inch height of cut, you would have to cut the grass when it grew another 1/8 of an inch, or when the turf reached a 1/2 an inch. Now consider how fast grass grows. In the peak of growing season, Bermuda grass may grow up to an 1/8 of an inch in a 24-hour period. The recent trend of lowering fairway heights of cut has presented challenges because often the frequency of mowing hasn't changed. A Monday, Wednesday, Friday mowing schedule at 3/8 inch height of cut in the heart of growing season will likely cause aftercut issues, especially on a Monday after 72 hours of growth. When mowing at low fairway heights of cut, maintain the 1/3 rule to ensure good aftercut appearance. Now, on to number 3. Choose the optimal clip rate. There are 4 factors that affect clip rate. The first is ground speed, how fast the traction unit is moving forward. Second is reel speed, how fast the reels are spinning. The third is height of cut. And finally, the number of reel blades on your reels. Some operators automatically increase the reel speed thinking faster is better. Not the case. Toro has taken the guesswork out of figuring out optimal clip rate by providing you with this handy chart located right under the seat. You know the 3 inputs needed to use the chart. You know your ground speed, you know your height of cut, and you know the number of reel blades on your reels. All you have to do is find the recommended reel setting and dial it in. During the reel mowing process, the bed knife pushes the grass forward, and the reel blade acts as a rake to gather the grass up and back toward the bed knife. Optimum clip rate is achieved when both sides create small, even gatherings that are then cut. The result is a small, unnoticeable scallop that results in an even aftercut appearance. If the reel speed is set too low in relation to the ground speed, there is too much space between cuts, resulting in visible clip marks and uncut grass. If the reel speed is set too high in relation to the ground speed, you risk leaf tissue damage or burning of the turf due to the increased blade impacts prior to cutting. This affects the long-term health of the turf and susceptibility to disease. Toro's reel speed control system was engineered to simplify this setup process to give you the optimum aftercut appearance for your turf and greatly reduce the risk of damage due to incorrect settings or operator error. The DPA bed knife to reel adjustment utilizes a patented design that maintains that critical position of the bed knife to the reel, even as the reels reduce in diameter due to wear from regrinding or a debris impact. The bed knife adjusts to the correct angle and position to maintain consistent aggressiveness of cut across all cutting units. This design feature, paired with Toro's precision reel speed settings, provides a simple method for optimizing the aftercut appearance and turf health in all usage conditions. And that brings us to number 2. Define and duplicate the problem. Charles Kettering was an inventor who, among other things, invented the electronic ignition still used in cars today. He once famously said, "A problem well stated is a problem half solved." If you've noticed a change in your aftercut appearance, the first step to solving your problem is to determine what's changed since the last time everything looked great on your course. It may be helpful at that point to consider the 3 components to good aftercut appearance. What has changed agronomically? Some examples include, did we change the height of cut? When was the last time we dethatched? Have we changed our watering practices? Or have we not had rain? What has changed from a maintenance standpoint? Do we have light bed knife to reel contact? When was the last time we ground our reels and bed knives? Have we lapsed on our daily machine checks? And lastly, what has changed from a machine adjustment standpoint? Is the clip rate still correct? What is the attitude of the bed knives? Are we aggressive or not aggressive enough? Have we tried a new accessory like bed knives or rollers? Inherently, one of the keys of defining the problem is establishing the baseline. Again, when everything was A-OK on the course. Toro has developed many diagnostic tools to help you define the particular aftercut appearance problem. For more information, check the main menu of this video. And finally, number 1. Document your case. If the aftercut appearance you desire remains elusive, always remember you have a lifeline. The Toro Technical Assistance Center and your local Toro distributor are available to assist. Keep in mind, if we don't know you have a problem, we can't help. So communicate early and communicate often. To help us help you, a good definition of the problem will speed things up. The more accurate notes you have, the sooner we can work together to solve issues and prevent them from happening again. There it is, our top 10 list of ways to get your turf looking the best that it can. As we said up front, excellent aftercut appearance has been the pursuit of superintendents and manufacturers alike since the invention of reel mowing. Without question, technology has increased our ability to manicure our turf like never before. But the basics of reel mowing and good aftercut appearance have remained the same. Start with our top 10 list and see if it makes a difference in your turf. Thanks for watching.